Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. My name's Joe. Today I am going to be doing a first look, somewhat of an unboxing, I guess, essentially, of the game The Last 100 Yards. This is Volume 1, second printing. And along with it, I'm also going to do the first mission pack for the game, which came out actually a little bit before the second printing came out. Now, I did some videos on actually Volume 2, Airborne, and Volume 3, The Solomon Islands, last year because I had those, and this was hard to get because it was out of print, and secondary market prices being what they are, I elected to get on the P500 for it, which has just arrived actually today. So I am going to do a quick look at this along with the mission pack, which I received a while back, but not that long ago. Because I couldn't actually play this until I had this. So, it is what it is, I guess. So, before we get into the mission pack, let's just take a look at the base game. So, if you're not familiar with this game, it is a tactical game. It's somewhat unique in its approach, and I think it plays really well. Once you get the system down, it plays quickly. It puts a high emphasis, I would say, on suppressing and assaulting. So it kind of rewards what you would consider to be the traditional real-life tactics of armies in the Second World War. So and still today to some extent. But that's the main thing, is that this rewards the whole like find them, fix them, finish them kind of situation. So, let's take a look inside the box here. Okay, so you get a bunch of D10s, 4 of them in various colors. So that's pretty standard. You get your also kind of GMT standard bag of bags, essentially. And I actually use these. I do store my counters in bags in many games. I do have some counter trays, but a lot of times I use bags, and I actually organize them within the bag so that they're nice and neat. I'm kind of a little bit of a neat freak. So here you have the series rules, version 2.1. And so the rule book, it might be a little, I don't want to say scary. It's kind of long. I mean, as far as the rules themselves, you're talking probably 32-ish, 31. This is about designing your own scenarios, and then you have your index. Everything is indexed. The main thing is with the rules for this game, as I mentioned, there's a high emphasis on suppression and assaulting. And the way the game works is you activate by platoons, you roll for initiative. Typically, the attacker will get a bonus so that they're on the initiative, because there's no opportunity fire, which kind of freaks people out, or at least not opportunity fire in the traditional sense. It's more of an action-reaction, and then you can actually have a chain of reactions, because you as the attacker can move and have the defender say, I'm going to react to that, and fire upon you, and then you can react to their reaction. So you get this whole series of action-reaction going on, which is, a little different from many tactical games, but it works really well once you get the system. Once you wrap your head around this system, it really works well. So I wouldn't let the length of the rule book deter you from trying this system. It's a really good system. Here's the playbook. So the playbook is nice because it gives you rule examples, a lot of rule examples, which is really useful because the maps, as we'll see, they have a lot of contour lines and things on them. So you need to know how terrain works. And here we talk about platoon activation, because it kind of encourages you to keep your platoons together, and you can actually activate. There's a way where you can activate multiple platoons at once. You kind of have to roll for that. But it's a really, really well done system, in my opinion. So the playbook is really indispensable when you're first learning the game, because you learn about things like how fire resolution works. Like, for example, you'll see here on the counter sheets, whoops, I had some counters fall out apparently. The counters pop out real nice. Here's a counter that came out. So you can see the counter here. Come on, focus. Focus. Okay. No clipping really needed. I mean, these edges are nice and clean. I know there are some who'll be like, you have to you have to clip your corners. I'm not really a counter clipper, personally. Probably more because I don't have a lot of spare time. And it can be a time-consuming endeavor. So here we have markers, right? This is what I was looking for. So these markers you put down and they indicate the effectiveness of the fire. And you can have multiple units. So when you would have kind of in other games, you might build like a death stack, right? Where you put three or, you fire a bunch of different units at a target. You can do that in this, but each one, based on its position and its situation, will have a different impact on the target. And when you hit the target, only one hit counts. So you could have, the greens tend to be a little bit better than the yellows and so on. I mean, the color scheme makes sense once you read the rules, but you can have multiple basically fire markers. That's what these are. Multiple fire markers on a target, and you'll roll for each one. And once you get a hit, the hit counts. So you can have all three. You got 3 units attacking, firing at 1 unit. If they all hit, you still only count 1 hit. So that's kind of how that works. So it kind of gets into a little bit more realistic because you're spreading your attack out. Various units are attacking the same target, but they're not combining the effectiveness. Each one has its own effectiveness, is basically the gist of it. So you do have 4 counter sheets here. You mark assaults, obviously. There's all kinds of stuff in this game. It's really, really well done. So you mark your actions. You can have smoke. The mortar system in this game is really good as well. It's got armor, so if you wanted to, have tanks, there are some tanks here. Here's some Germans on the German counter sheet. Yeah, these counters pop right out, but you can see here we have some Panzer Vs, the Panther, some Panzer IVs, the good old Stug 3. So you've got your wide variety, and down here, you have your bigger. There's your big guy right there, the Tiger. So you have different, lots of armor, or maybe not lots of armor, but you have armor available. And I'm losing counters left and right over here. But here you have Americans, so you have American units as well. So this volume 1 is Americans and Germans, basically France in 44, and that's what most of your scenarios will be. And as I said, I lost a bunch of counters here. So here's a track. So the game runs on time. So you have time over here. You're going to have a mission time, and that's how long you have to complete your mission. So there is a time pressure on the attacker. And you'll end up rolling to see how much time is expended in that, for that turn, essentially. And then you track casualties as well. And the only multi-step unit in this game, as far as I can remember, it's been a little bit since I played it, but as far as I can remember, the only multi-step unit is the infantry. They have a squad, and then it reduces to a section, and then it's eliminated. But then you also have your support weapons, your machine guns, for example. Those are 1 step. So if they get destroyed, they get destroyed. Tanks are the same. They get knocked out, they're knocked out. There's no wreck or anything. It just gets off the map. Sequence of play, pretty simple. Initiative phase, activation phase. Like I mentioned, you activate by platoon. So you're activating multiple squads, but they're in the same platoon. Then you have your fire resolution. So you're going to do your actions, and then there'll be some firing possibly, and maybe some reaction fire. Everybody gets marked. And then you have your assault. If there's an assault, to resolve, you would resolve your result. You do mortar fire. Separate, it has its own adjustment phase. You can recover mortars. The mortar system is really, really well done, I think, and kind of more than I want to explain at the moment. Here's where you determine how much time has lapsed, and then you have your cleanup phase. Really clean, straightforward play sequence, and once you get the system down, it's going to flow, and you'll be happy with it. So we have our terrain effects chart, blind hexes for when you're talking about elevation, how many number of hexes from the highest hex to the intervening blocking terrain hex or terrain feature. Stacking limits, maneuver points, tactical objectives, how concealment loss works, disruption and regrouping, recovering, etc. On the other side, there are two of these because this is a 2-player game. You can solo it. There are some things with hidden units and things that make those scenarios a little tougher, those missions. The scenarios in this game are called missions. We have an assault table where you basically look at the values in this column here. Will tell you, basically you go through and you just follow it step by step. Here's your modifiers for assault, vehicle destruction, DRM, small arms fire, DRM. It's all kinds of stuff in here. It's just, like I said, it's really well done. This is a second copy of that. Then we get to our missions. So the game ships, I believe, with 12 missions. The bottom one is So this is your do-it-yourself mission table, so you can kind of roll your own missions. But here you have various missions, and they can be one map. It's a relatively small map. They can be multi-map. Here we have some multi-map ones. 2 maps. This is a 3-mapper. This one's a 4-mapper. And you can see they give you a date, and the 2 companies that are involved, I think you get A, B, C companies for both sides. And, the missions are really well designed, and you have a clear, mission special rules that will define, the American player. If the American player gets a +2 initiative DRM. Because, well, it's up here actually. The initiative DRM, the American gets a +2, the German gets 0. Casualty differential limit. So that on the casualty track, which we saw a moment ago, you have these right here. And so this will define basically the limits that those can go to. So for the American, it's 7. For the German, it's 3. It explains what you get in terms of your forces, Baker and Charlie companies, with the Able Tank Company 1st and 2nd Platoon, supported by 6 machine gun sections, 3 light anti-tank weapon sections, 4 M3 half-tracks, 2 60mm mortar sections, and in 1 81mm mortar platoon. Total of 56 steps. The Germans on the defense only have 31 steps. So you'll see different setups and things like you would in any tactical game. That's pretty straightforward. So you have a pretty good mix here in your 12 that are included. Then we have the maps. So you have your map, and this is about as big as the map is. It's not enormous. I think it's 11 by 17. 2-sided. So you have 1 and 4 together. Then we have 2 and 8, 3 and 5. And you can see there's variations. There's, stone walls. There's hedgerows, fields. Here's a nice elevation feature on map 6. So you have the contour lines I was talking about. So you actually have multiple elevations within the same hex. And, I think the maps in this game are really cool, actually, the way they're done. I like the artwork. I believe the artwork was done by Charles Kibler. I'd have to look at the back of the box, but you have 7 and 12, so there's a good assortment of. And here's my counter, that first one that was out. Map art. Oh, Liz Stefanoff did the map. So excellent work by her. These maps are really cool in my opinion. So this is, as I mentioned, you have a wide variety of different terrain types. different maps, etc. for the French countryside, or basically the general Western European countryside, I guess, because you can be in other places than France, obviously. So let's put all this back, including my American counter sheet that has been decimated. Looks like it got hit by a mortar strike here with all these holes. We'll put all this back in here for now. Playbook, rules, box cover. It's all back in there. Oops, what did I forget? The baggies and the dice. All right, because I want to talk about the mission pack. Now this is pretty straightforward, not a whole lot to look at here actually, but what do you get with your mission pack? So I'm sure GMT has a nice description of what you get on their website, but let's take a look and see what you get. So you get the header card, and on the back are the rules. So it talks mainly about the mission pack special rules, the MSRs, and the tree lines can be defined as hedgerows, and it explains what a hedgerow is. You have sunken roads, roadblocks, and some restrictions for withdrawals and retreats, a description of what's in here. So it builds on volumes 1 and 2. So volume 1 was the one we just looked at. Volume 2 is the airborne. So you have 10 missions that occurred in 1944 during the Normandy pre-breakout and breakout phases in July and August of 44, the Hurtgen Forest in November, and the Battle of the Bulge in December. So you join the 2nd Division's 23rd Infantry Regiment and experience what Allied soldiers termed hedgerow hell. You get Patton's 3rd Army breakout, the Falaise Pocket. So there's a lot, as you would expect, there's a variety of things within those. So you start with mission 23, and you get 10 missions total. The last one is 32. So again, you get the dates and the location, Hurtgen Forest, September 22nd of 44. And then it tells you basically what you get. This is a small one. We have a 13-step American Able Infantry Company, 2 platoons with 1 machine gun section. The Germans have a 2nd Infantry Company, 2nd platoon, just 1 platoon of 4 sections supported by an 8-centimeter mortar section. Only 4 steps. And then you get a DRM for the Americans, your casualty differentials, your disposition, which basically tells you where you start, what map you're using. This one's using map 5, which is actually part of the base game. And so you can see there's a tank duel here. So you get Able Tank Company with 3 tanks facing off against the Germans. They have a couple Panthers, so that this one might be something that would be interesting to play. I'm sure all of these are pretty interesting to play. And there is a pretty decent-sized community of people that play this game, enjoy this game a whole lot, that got involved in creating some of these scenarios. And so here you have map 34, because between the 2nd edition and the 3rd edition, the 12 maps from the base edition basically almost tripled in size. So you have 34 and then 36 on the other side. This has a nice water feature, a little river, creek, I guess, more of a creek, running down the middle. So you get 4 maps. You get 4 maps with the game, and here they are. And so you can see these are a lot more wooded. Some of these are a lot more wooded than some of the ones in the base game. And again, I really like these maps. I think they're really well done. The cardboard is thick enough that it's not going to fall apart on you. You stick this under plexi or something, it's going to be real nice. But you don't even really have to. The only thing I would be concerned about is, if you do a light fold back to kind of get it to lay flat without plexi, that as long as you don't get a little too overzealous, you won't probably tear it. But I usually just try to stick it under plexi so that it's nice and flat and protected as well. So that, as they say, my friends, is that I will be doing a playthrough of this game because, as I mentioned earlier, I really enjoy this game. And I was looking forward to having this, and I'm really looking forward to the 4th volume, which is going to be the Eastern Front. So it'll be Russia, so you get the Soviets and the Germans. There's a lot of room for this to grow. We don't have Commonwealth forces yet, so no UK, We don't have anything early war with the French. We don't have any Italians. We have no Africa yet. I mean, there's a lot of room for this thing to grow. Even in the Pacific, we've got the Solomons, but we don't have, any of the push through the Central Pacific, the island hopping campaign, the Philippines, all kinds of things, possibilities there. Even going into like Burma and the CBI theater, there's a ton of potential for this series, and hopefully they'll get to adding that kind of stuff. So that's going to do it. I am going to wrap this up. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch, as always. Please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, etc. The usual rigmarole that I always say at the end of my videos. But yeah, that's going to do it. And until next time, my name is Joe. This is Hexed Encountered, and happy gaming.